Welcome to Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. It's show number 200. So welcome everybody. Thanks for joining in. It's a different kind of show today. It's a lot different actually. So I'm 100% solo in the studio right now, and Matt is kind of in the background pushing some buttons. Tonight's show is going to be a little different because we're going to do a guest show. We're just going to bring in a lot of our old guests that have come on before, talk about how the show's doing. So we will do that. I'm pushing buttons and see how they work. So I've got that screen going. I got this screen going. When Logan used to be here, he used to sit right there, but I got rid of him. So he's gone, even though he was here last week. And the funny thing is I can hear George on the line. I don't know if that's going out on the show or not. That'll be interesting. But Mark, yeah, you've watched 200 episodes of this crap. So such an experience of Tequila Tuesday. Well, actually, it's Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. Live from Pahrump, Valley of the Dirt People. I have something else that's pretty cool. And it'll be, I think it's running on the screen and the projector behind me if I did all that stuff right. So who's waiting in there? George is sitting there waiting. So Matt, why don't we try to bring George on, and we'll see how this works out. George, welcome to the show. We just got your forehead. That's all we really need, right? There, you make the adjustment. You fix my problem on your end. This is the way I like to work. So if you're not familiar with Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, George, what is this show about?
Motorcycles and motorcycle-related product. Mostly it's just screwing around. Good information.
Right on. So we answer your question. If you have it, you can put it up in the chat if you're on one of our forums. So you might be listening to it like live on Facebook or live on YouTube. You can type into the chat. If you have a podcast, you're listening to it on the podcast or something, you can just comment someplace, I don't know where. Send us an email, Jimmy@dirtbiketest.com. But this show would not be possible without the help of our sponsor. So I'm testing George again to see if he remembers, because he's coming from the deck in a beautiful, faraway location.
Closed.
A lot of smoke?
Yeah, a lot of smoke. There's some fires. Not too bad today, but there's some weather coming in. There's a big squall moving north from the south of us.
Yeah, and Victor wants to know if you're Hulk Hogan. He's just getting fit. It's 270 how many days?
275 within a couple hours. Not
275 days without a drink.
No reason, no DUI, no problem, nothing like that. Just decided to stop, see what it was like.
Right. So I did that last night at about, I would say 10. I might have been earlier. Actually, I only had a beer earlier. Actually, I was supposed to go by the Italian restaurant and pay my bar tab down the street.
You got a tab
today, but I forgot. Well, I kind of rolled in a little after closing, and they'd already closed down the book. So anyhow, we did have a question. Scott Zindel had a question right off the top. We're going to start with this. He said, "Hi, I raced my 2017 Sherco 300 SE this weekend, and it would not rev out. Nothing changed maintenance-wise or otherwise. It only has 50 hours on it. Checked the compression, and it was 250 PSI. Not a typo. I checked my friend's newer Sherco. It's similar, and it was 150. What's going on with mine being so high?" That's a really good question. I've never heard of a bike gaining compression. I know on a two-stroke, what was that?
Carbon buildup. He's got carbon buildup, gain compression.
Yeah, you're saying there's so much carbon up in the cylinder head and on top of the piston that he's getting bonus compression.
He said it wouldn't rev up, right?
Right. And so Scott, the question is, was it revving fine the last time you rode it, and then it just started not revving fine this time? Because that would indicate something happened. And like we always say in the show, what was the last thing you worked on? But that's what he said. Nothing changed maintenance-wise or otherwise. Most of the time when we get questions that are just kind of out of the ordinary, we go back to what was the last thing you worked on? What was the last thing you touched? And that usually leads us down the path.
I would
I was going to say
plug on one end or the other, right? Exhaust is plugged or intake's plugged, some plugged up. If it was like an overnight, I don't know, thing, something get
yeah, I
plugged
don't know
up.
how it would.
Could it ingest something?
Yeah, I don't know how. Yeah,
Oil
I don't know how it would plug
too
so
much?
quickly. Yeah, I'm not sure how it would plug so quickly, but that's a thing. Don't die on us. So, but on two strokes, just so you know, that the compression goes down when the power valve goes up. But when you're testing the compression, you're usually not getting the power valve to activate. Although I know that Sherco does have an electronic power valve, I'm pretty sure. And I'm wondering if somehow it's not operating properly. That's just kind of a wild guess. We'll see if he gets back to us and let some stuff. He's Flying Brian says check the air cleaner. I don't think that would be. Oh, he's starting this other one. So George, we have one other question here. Tom Gray says, "Hey guys, I have a." You got to get a better connection. You're clipping.
I am.
Yeah. Now you are. So, anyways, I have a 2021 YZ250F with a starting issue when cold. It has trouble starting initially, but once it starts, you can turn it off and straight away it will restart easily. Could this be battery related? Not cold enough cranking amps, possibly. Well, is the starter spinning over? Tom, is the starter spinning over as it should? If it's kind of a little sluggish or weak. So one thing is that the Yamahas come with a lithium battery stock. So lithium batteries have to warm up to give full cranking amps. So the one thing I always do on my bikes have a lithium battery is before I go to start it, some of them have lights and different things on them. So when you turn them on, that little bit of a draw warms the lithium up. But sometimes I'll just give the starter a little touch, a little tap. So it just, and it doesn't even turn the motor over. But that wakes the battery up. That helps. The other thing it does is in most cases it will get the ECU to start sensing the air pressure and the other stuff. Because if you just hit it straight away and let it go, on some bikes they're working on what we would call old information, and so that could help out a little bit with your problem there. But typically the YZs, the 4-strokes, have a hard time restarting, and it's always been an issue with since Yamaha's gone to electric starting and fuel injection. They've never been the best at restarting, actually starting in general, but it's usually not a cold start issue. So I would so the way I start my Yamahas if they're being finicky is if I stall it for some reason, I do the same thing where I tap the starter once, let it so it doesn't actually start, and then push the button with no throttle and everything, and generally they start right up. So little tip for those on the Yamaha. And then Chris Reel kind of goes back and says that check the muffler to make sure the muffler core is not fractured. And so someone else said something different too. He said it wouldn't rev up also. I'm getting confused. Too many conversations going on at one time. It's a lot of stuff, a lot of buttons to push here. Mysteriously appeared. So again, I was going to have you read our sponsors off.
You were. Well,
yeah, you were gonna since your memory's so good these days,
Climb.
You're gonna tell us all of our sponsors. Yeah.
DDC sprockets.
Right.
Flex bars, which is
Fasst Company.
Fastco, yeah.
Yep.
Fasst Company, Yamaha, of course, Bulletproof Designs.
Yep.
Let me think. I don't know. Lots happened since I've been on the show.
Yeah. You moved away. Double
PBR,
take mirrors,
George, I
seat
spoke to
concepts,
tacomoto.co.
right?
Um,
And of course, Scott Sports, which last week I forgot to do my product of the week. So I'm going to do product of the week this week is the Scott goggles. I'll make sure I do. I'll make sure I remember to do that this time. I hope. I'll put it
Recluse.
right up here on the thing. Recluse is not. They were back in the day. I actually contacted them because I got my hands on a new Recluse 4.0. So the it's got a new activation method. There, one of my sponsors just went down my shirt here went down the thing there. Got it. Got to get the signage and everything up. You couldn't see it, but I fixed it before it went bad. Okay.
Did I mute my
The next
call
question.
successfully just then?
I couldn't tell, but it's like there's a delay when you start talking. There's a delay before it gets into the computers here. So Tom's going to give them things a go and let me know, which is really good. I really, really appreciate it when someone gets back to me and tells me whether something works or doesn't work, because this is how I've learned. I've learned from people that are smarter than me fixing things, or watching me do something stupid and then tell me a better way to do it so I can learn. And I try all the different ways. Watch some of the videos on changing tires and mooses online that I've done on over there on a dirt bike test, because I hear a lot of people complaining and I'm like, you're just missing out on some of the real basic stuff.
Hey, Jimmy.
Another sponsor.
Jimmy,
Yes.
You didn't showcase what episode this is.
It's episode 200. I forgot to say that. I thought that's how I came off right off the bat. Oh, I probably should say it, even though logo. So you're only watching it on the Zoom meeting, correct?
Right.
Okay, you're missing all the stuff I'm doing, pushing all these buttons. So anyhow, again, if you have questions, go ahead and kind of send them in, because that's what's gonna keep us going. George, you went riding up in your neck of the woods recently, yeah?
Yeah, I
Oh,
had
jeez.
few buddies show up, and we just did 2-track squid fire road stuff, which is what I like to ride anyway, and explored around. It was pretty neat. Pretty good time.
And someone got there and their bike didn't even work.
Well, the other 3 guys were all on 690s. And yeah, we didn't even get out of the driveway. And he had the part that kickstand sensor switch, I guess, fouled up, and he had the part, so we had to switch that out really quick. But as soon as he put it,
Was that a little was it the little magnet that's connected to the kickstand, or was it the receiver part?
I didn't even look at it. I just held the bike up. He had the part, and he was fooling around down there at the kickstand, and he replaced something, and all was well. Can't you just cut a couple wires and put them together? Or is this all CAN bus crazy stuff now?
Correct. Not on a KTM. It's a 3-wire thing, and you can't do it if you have the right resistor or whatever it is that you have to put in there to make it work. But this is why on my KTM adventure bike keychains, I always carry the little magnet thing, because I've actually seen rocks go up and knock them off, and kick them, kick it out, and then all of a sudden your bike dies for no reason. You usually hear a ting. Usually there's because it usually takes a pretty good rock to hit it. Ting, and all of a sudden the bike just blew because the magnet broke off the little sensor. So I carry those on my keychain, and the reason is because I actually lost one super, super remote, and I had to walk around and sift through the dirt, and luckily I found it. But I was thinking about, if I had not been lucky enough to find this, it could have been a long walk. So Countershocks, Jimmy, do you have an event you are going to soon? I don't think so. Maybe I am. I'm not sure. I have to look at a calendar to remember where I'm going. 100% of my brain power is focused on keeping this show running right now. I was going to do all kinds of other crazy stuff, but it just didn't work out. But I'll tell you. So you know how you go on to you go onto the internets and you find somebody that sounds like they know what they're talking about, like maybe us. Well, so last night I was clicking around and I saw someone explain, and I've noticed this before because I'm trying to get a little more healthy. I saw someone explain fasting, and that's why it's not Tech Talk Taco and Tequila Tuesday night for me, Mark. Right there, then and there, I decided I was going to do some fasting. So today it's water, and we'll figure out how this works. So I'm like 22 hours in, and I'm not even hungry. But when you have a camel front like I do, that's like a food storage. I got a lot of fat to burn, so I'm good. So just like you cut out the booze there, George, I got my program in here too.
Hey, talk about how the desert's changed with that last big storm that came through there a week or so ago.
Oh boy. I can't even drive down 127 to go back to California. So it's still washed out. We did go for a little ride last week and checked some of it out, and we saw a bunch of Caltrans workers. I think we saw at least 15 different workers, and the only one that was working was the one driving the big full-size truck and the big trailer that had a toilet on it. And I think he was going to the person that wanted to use the toilet. That's all we saw. That was the only activity we saw. Otherwise, it was just two dudes sitting in a truck and another two dudes sitting in a truck and a tractor that was parked and running and just parked, hadn't moved for, I don't know, the 15 minutes that we saw it for. So, no, Victor, probably not a Mexican. That guy, they'd probably be working their ass off. Mm-hmm. So, Countershock says, oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Flynn825 says, I'm having trouble mounting my Barkbuster handguards to my T7 with flex bars, using BRP adapters and the brake master cylinders in the way. You run the Acerbis with some adapter on a slot. That's vlog 5 of my Tenere. And so, yes, Finn, I'm using the Fasst Company, their adapter mounts. It's just basically, it's essentially a plate that bolts into the pivoting part of the inner part of the handlebar, and I actually had to bend them out a little bit so it did clear the brake line. But always when you're doing hand guards and stuff, there seems to be some custom tweaking that needs to go. But that is a Fasst Company mount, and it offsets the mounting point, and so it comes off the pivoting part so that it doesn't affect the way that the handlebars work. So if that doesn't fix it, give Cole down there at Fasst Company a call. Fasst Company, www.fastco.com, maker of the flex handlebars and the impact foot pegs, which I've been having more and more luck with lately. I've been using them on my Tenere, and I used to think that they didn't affect vibration, and I don't know if they actually affect the vibration, but the amount of shock that comes through, because I've been riding some different boots lately, and I've noticed that boots affect vibration and what you feel, and it's not through the soles. It's actually because of the way I grip on the bike with my ankles, and then it transmits through there. So I've been really sensitive to a lot of stuff that I've been feeling on the thing. And let's see, Brenda says the Tusk Flex mounts work well too. Okay, they have it. They might have a special one for that. Additionally, I didn't know. I don't think
I've ever put on hand guards where you didn't have to do something, move something a little from where you had it or tweak something, or they all seem to rub on parts. I don't know, until you tweak them. Nothing just bolts right on perfect, and if that's what he was expecting when he bought all the right stuff, he probably thought it should bolt right on. There's all those.
Yeah, it's anytime you're going into something, if it's a stock bike, usually something will bolt on, but you're always bolting like one or two, three things on, and especially with handlebars, because I'm running, whether I'm running the flex bars on top of a BRP mount with Scott's damper, and then the Scott's damper, I have to have either the special crossbars for the flex mount, or I run a sub mount, and it goes on, and gets pretty crazy. So, yeah. And Rocky Mountain no longer sells the Tusk brand adapter. They got into trouble for copying BRP. Could be. So, wonder if Jerry's going to pop on. I just got a text message from him. And now my phone is listening to me. Imagine that. Okay. So we'll see if that happens. I don't know what Matt's doing in the thing. I got Tim Skelly. Also, he's in there working on his bike. He's got a bunch of BRP, actually not BRP, bulletproof designs, stuff that he's getting on there. He's holding it up on the screen. Hey, Matt, can we see if we can get Tim on there? Let's see if Matt's paying attention now.
I think I unmuted myself.
Okay, I can hear you. I'm going to go and I just look at that. We made the show work.
Yeah.
This is what I spent half of the day pushing buttons on this computer for. So, welcome Tim from Inside Line Moto, who's you're going to have 2 hours of boredom this week because you've already listened to the show. You won't have to replay it.
I can re-listen.
Yeah. So, one improvement so generally if we don't get the podcast uploaded pretty quick, you're the first guy that lets me know, hey, where is it?
What is the holdup sometimes?
Well, I'll get to that.
Labor.
I'll get to
like I have no idea
labor?
what it takes to put it online, but it sometimes takes a while. So I figure there's something.
It takes a few minutes to upload, but it's just a series of pushing buttons. That's the thing you've got to do is push the buttons and know where to push the information out to. It's a little bit more technical than that. But I want to say you recommended that we make a big improvement of the show and like can little Logan, which I'll. So Logan was the producer for the last 2 weeks, and I guess it went past him that his job was to upload the show. So now you have even one more thing to blame Logan for.
I just gave a little constructive criticism. I didn't mean to ban the guy.
Oh, it's okay. No, I fire these guys left and right, and then they come back. Hey, so you're working on your bike right now. Turn it. You went from a 2008 to what? You can just point the camera at that sucker.
To a 24 300 XCW.
And that thing, it looks spotless, 0 miles.
I have not even ridden it down the alley. I've set the sag. I started it. I ran it. I've heat cycled it. I made sure the fan worked. I installed the fan, and but I have not actually ridden it even down the alley.
And what are you're adding protection right now?
I got all the bulletproof stuff. We strongly believe in their products. I mean, they do a great job of protecting. So definitely want all that stuff. I went ahead. You got me sold on the flex bars a little while back for my e-bike. The reason I did the e-bike was just I felt like that bitchin' triple clamp Olean's fork that I got on the I got the Intense Taser MX, and it's a bitchin' fork, but it's not plush. So it was just hurting my hands and my arms and stuff. So I put the flex bars on, and then in Colorado last week, I was thinking, I'm getting ready to set up a brand new bike. I think I'm going to start putting flex bars on this one. So they're already on there.
Well, everybody says the suspension on it's horrible. So the flex bars, that's the one thing that they definitely do is they make bad forks good.
Yeah.
But I haven't.
People actually saying that about the suspension?
They always do. That's all you hear. Just horrible comments. I doubt it. I mean, I doubt that the suspensions. I would feel that the suspension's pretty good. I know Trevor rode them, and he was pretty impressed for how they worked for what do you call a trail bike, which to me would mean if Trevor likes it when it's like that, it's probably just a little bit on the stiff side.
Yeah.
So the bars probably won't hurt at all. And then and you're not a small dude too, so that the stiff kind of isn't a bad thing in a lot of ways. And just generally new bikes are getting a little bit stiffer. The suspension is I think they're just learning that they can make them work, and they feel lighter when they're like that.
Yeah. Matt already took apart my fork only to respring it for my my bigger size. And he went ahead and just kind of looked at what's in there just to see firsthand what components are in there. And he says it's basically a production version. Things have been made a little simpler, but it's a copy of the 6500 WP kit that they had available for the last couple of years for the Explorer fork. So he thinks it's going to be pretty good based on what he saw. And I'm going to ride it stock just with spring rates, and then spring on the back, set the sag, and just going to see what it's like stock, just to see, what they're giving us. But from what he sees and what I've heard, I don't know. I'm excited that the stock suspension seems like it might be in the ballpark.
Yeah, over the course of the last couple of weeks, I've ridden 3 different KTM 500s with it's literally one was a 2000 and what was it 12? Yeah, 12 or 13. One of the bikes. So that was back when. It's funny because back when they released that thing, everybody said the suspension sucks, and then when they released the 17, where they kind of went to some changes in 17, and then everybody said, well, that suspension sucked, and the old one was better because it had better stuff on it. And then they went to the newer ones where they went to the single-sided, damping and the compression and rebound up on the top. And everybody talks about how that one sucks, and then the old ones were better.
It's hard to please everyone.
I tell you what, they're all really kind of very similar. And if anything, I would say that they've gotten better at being more progressive than the old ones. The old ones were a little less progressive, where the new ones tended to kind of ramp up a little bit. So they had better bottoming resistance with more kind of initial movement. But the problem is they got into a point where I think it was wallowy, is it was moving a little bit. So which means that the suspension is kind of active and it's moving a lot as opposed to being kind of stiff. But I prefer the safety that you get with the bottoming, and then I can kind of adjust some of that, some of that wallowy out with compression and rebound adjustment. And there was definitely enough range. I wouldn't have minded more range on the newer fork. It seemed like the range wasn't as wide as the old one, but then most of the guys that complain have never even turned a clicker, so they just sent it off to someplace where they spent a few $1,000s. And tell you what, you can spend a few $1,000s and make it do, whatever you need it to do. And actually, I've got a thing called a Moto Click, which is a digital suspension tool. We have a test of it on Dirt Bike Test. If you're interested in what it is, it measures what your suspension is doing. So it basically shows you how the shock and how the fork are moving and their speeds and stuff. And I'm gonna get that thing refurbished here real soon and set up for a PDS so I can actually test all of the stuff, because I want to calculate out how my butt dyno works for the suspension, as opposed to just I want to see a chart and then see if what I'm feeling is in actuality what we're doing. So, and I'm sure it'll bolt right up to that bike too. So if it's still relatively stock and anytime soon, we'll maybe give that one a shot and see what it does.
Yeah.
So counter shocks, they're commenting on with one of our other guys is talking about plush. Why old guys use the word plush? I'm not sure. Well, you want a suspension. Plush sounds good. There's even people that have named their suspension companies plush. But yeah, the counter shocks, I think. Yeah, I definitely want to try that. I remember we talked to them at one of the shows, I believe, and I would like to get one of those things on there, because I remember when I had something very similar on the back of a supermoto bike, and it was insane how well that thing worked. But and do you guys trust Racetech's online spring rate calculator? I have. It's been pretty accurate in the past, so I can generally do it a little bit more by feel. I don't need to go to the spring rate calculator, but yeah, just kind of working on that. They recommend me going down a rate in the front, but 2 up in the rear. Says Finn 825. That sounds really awkward, because if you go, it's generally it's for every 1 you go up in every 2 you go up in the rear, you need to go up 1 in the front. That was sort of a rule of thought. And Matt, we have our next contestant in the chat. It says Michelle on the screen, but I'm going to doubt that there's a Michelle calling right now. And there we go. Jerry Bernardo.
Yes,
live
Jay.
from they have you held hostage out in Area 51, I'm told.
I'm in an undisclosed location, continuing on witness protection, self-inflicted, and I really can't go into detail. But I'm close to you. I'm about, let's see, Pahrumps, the land of the dirt people. I'm 1 flush away.
Yeah, that was one of the
giveaway. Hidden signals.
So, okay, got it.
Can I just say one thing? Did you notice when you brought me on camera that I was smiling and laughing to myself? Did you?
Because
I was.
Yes, I did.
I was. Okay. And now you're wondering why, aren't you?
Well, it's because we're gonna talk about lazy people.
I just want to know that why when you said 2 up in the rear, I was just thinking, that sounds like some OnlyFans shit. No, it does.
I want to be the best motorcycle guy in OnlyFans. I just got to figure out how to make it work.
Well, you need fans first. Fans with credit cards.
Right. Hey, I'm gonna pop up the logo. Which I really appreciate. If you haven't seen it,
it's 30 seconds minus 5. 5 seconds flat.
Well, we have a short attention span here. So
I literally was to look at it, and I don't even have my glasses on.
I do totally appreciate it, Jerry. So I'm going to talk about lazy people, because that's what I was being. I was being a lazy. Oh, when I put the logo up, the audio goes away.
My audio went away?
It could have.
That's the AMA. They do that. They do that all the time to me.
Well, Adam, you didn't miss much, because I'm sure Jerry will talk it out again. So I was talking about being lazy, because I literally wasn't going to do the show today. I was like, Matt called in with COVID, and so he's reaching. He's got the, that's a kind of it's an end all. He can't come in with COVID. So, that's not working. We didn't schedule like anybody else to come out. All audio went away when I put the logo up. Oh, that's bad.
So everything I said about the logo was a wash.
Yeah, you're going to have to say it again.
I told you, Zuckerberg and the AMA, they're listening to me. They are.
See, that's why it was good. I only held it up for like 5 or 10 seconds before, but nobody told me this. So now the chat's coming into play here, where they're gonna figure this stuff out. But so I was being lazy, and I'm like, I won't do it, because I was a lot of other work. Like, I wanted to make the order form for this T-shirt, for the Tech Talk Taco Tuesday T-shirt. I have to move the other way, because I have to make. it's nine tenths done, and I just need to push a couple more buttons, and it would be done. But that's not happening.
I did
And
everything on
then
my end.
you called me and said, I got a surprise for you. And I'm like, oh boy, what's this? So luckily it showed up, and then it motivated me. And then I'm like, okay, if Jerry went to this effort, I got to get my ass in gear. And I also watched something else on YouTube last night that got me fasting, that's just a way of being lazy. 'Cause I'm thinking about it. It's like, if I don't eat, that's less stuff that I have to do. So I got a big old chunk of meat in a chili pot that's cooking, and I'm not going to eat it. So I'm tempting myself, so I actually cooked. So I said, I'm not going to be lazy like that. And then even more, then I had to figure out how to get the logo scrolling up on the screen behind me, and we couldn't find the files for that. So I had to call Sick Matt and make him work while he was doing his other job. Hopefully he doesn't get in trouble for that. And then I had to learn how to start and run this whole damn monkey business over here. I used to, so show 200. It's about going back to your roots, because I literally took a camera. It was just one camera, and I made it go live on the internet somehow. I don't even know how I did it. I don't remember how I did it. At a bar, Ramiro's Bar in Pahrump, Nevada. I sat down there and I made this show. And now we're 200 episodes in, so something's going right. And the other thing I did today is I got on the horn with some of our sponsors, because they want to do discount codes. They want to give us discount codes. So I'm going to get better at that as well. But unfortunately, I've been riding a lot, Jerry. I went riding.
What I'm trying, like, you're kind of waffling on, which is Aussie for blah blah blah. And it was like you were going to lead into some form of a question or explain, what do you mean lazy? Because you're one of the least lazy people I know. So get to the point. All that stuff's great. What's the point? What's the question?
I can't get any.
Make a question.
I can't make this show any better.
Why not? What's wrong with it now? You've had 200 practice runs.
I know. Well, you think it by 200 you get better.
Well, what makes you think it isn't good? Is there numbers you're looking at that aren't satiating you beyond human comprehension to points of idyllic bliss? How's that for a line of shit? Did you look at the numbers? Are people watching? Are people listening? What are the numbers? Ask Matt. Matt, what are the numbers?
It's I have to dive too deep into the data to figure that stuff out. It's a few thousand per episode. I know that. And some of the old ones, when we go back, because the show is kind of like timeless, and I think people would really rather that we talk about their actual motorcycle problems. But like Chris Schnowit says, how many pounds do you have to lose before you change out the springs on your suspension? That's a good question, and so this is where I derive satisfaction, is by using some of this knowledge that I've garnered from years of experience to say that it's amazing how much you don't have to change the springs in your suspension. Because, like, let's say there's a bike that's designed for someone that's 165 pounds, and we're putting 200-pound riders on it, just by adjusting the spring preload and making adjustments to the dampers. But in reality, it's kind of in 20-pound increments that this seems like the spring rates. But it depends on whether your bike has a linkage or not, where you ride on the bike. If you're tall, taller riders tend to be more of a pendulum on the bike. So I don't think there's an actual exactly this many pounds. But I'll tell you that if you ever run out of spring preload on either end, like you to get your sag, you have to crank the spring down so much that it tops the bike out, or you have to run your spring so loose to not have preload on it that the spring gets loose. Then yeah, for sure you're out of range at that point. But you definitely. And then some people just know, it's like I'm at my weight. I'm not talking about me specifically, because I ride mostly stock stuff, but I take that back. On PDS suspension, I typically go up 1 to 2 rates depending on what size bike it is. The 350 I have to go up 2, the 500 I go up 1 in the rear, and sometimes up a spring rate in the fork. But yeah, it's a different thing. So
Jimmy,
do you have
Jimmy,
anything?
they want a number. They want a number. 13.45% of your body weight is when you should switch springs. How's that for an answer?
That sounds excellent, George. I'm glad you're still there. I thought you might have fallen asleep up there, but we lost you on the. Let's see on the. Somehow we lost
No,
you on.
I'm
the
good
thing.
being
Matt,
off screen just chipping from the sidelines
Oh,
here.
okay. Yeah, Matt adjusted the cameras. That's what happened. So there's Matt. I think he was flushing the toilet in between doing that. But I can go back. I can go back to Jerry.
I have a
Hey,
weight related answer to that question.
Okay.
What's the difference between a wife and a girlfriend? 45
A
pounds.
wife?
It's just a joke. No
I told-
Karens
I
can
t-
stab me when I'm walking into Walmart.
Yeah, I remember telling that one to my wife.
It's a
So
joke. It's a joke.
I know. Hey, you just got to do what you got to do.
You really
So,
do. Okay, so you're worried. You're on your 200th show. I'm going to jump in here for a minute and steer. Take a drink. There you go. You're on your 200th show. You're slightly worried. How can I improve? I don't really see any reason why you need to improve. You just keep having different guests come in. You're very knowledgeable about the sport and all the things related to motorcycles and riding and racing and GPS and rally. And you know what Ricky Brabeck eats for breakfast. So you're on point. You don't need to change. You just need to grow your audience. Hot shoe
I'm in the Motor
Hall of
Hoats. I'm in the Hot Shoe Hall of Fame, Jerry.
Fame. That's it.
Hey, how awesome was that? You know what? You gotta talk to your boy about. We were skidding around in those go-karts last week, and I told him, you know how they have the street vendor guys? Because I'm thinking about new careers and everything. I'm trying to get out of this every once in a while. You know those guys that the street guys that hand you the little card, and you get the $5 off at the promoters. That's what it's called. I was telling him he needs to get me a digital card that I can get for anybody that comes into Vegas that, like, if a fan of the show wants to go skid some go-karts around down there on Fremont Street, I could text them or email them a little discount code, and then I can be a promoter.
So you're trying to put asses in seats at the Gene Woods Racing Experience on Fremont Street.
That's exactly right, because then they could go in there and they could see my plaque on the wall.
Paying customers with a generous TTTT $5 off.
That's it.
You need to talk to Gene Woods, the man.
I did. He said he had something like that, and he said, let me look for it. And that was the last time I heard.
I will remind you.
I didn't want to bug him.
He's quite busy, young Gene.
Yeah. Did he sell the CR500?
He did not, and he still needs to sell the CR500. He's in the midst of selling a lot of things, and he's making big moves. But if the 500 could get sold, it needs a good home. It really does.
If anybody is looking,
it's prone to wheelies and cop chases.
Yeah, that's when you sent that to me, I honestly thought, I should buy this thing, because I don't think they're going down in value. But then I'm like, I just don't need another bike. So because I had that horrible thought, I actually went into a shipping container and pulled out one of my bikes and decided that I'm going to sell it too. So I have an XR650 that's actually really cherry. I actually went and cleaned the gas tank out.
Was that the one that was on Roosterendo last week?
Yeah. I submitted under an alias.
Because I could tell the background was your yard. You weren't fooling me. I'm like a detective.
Yeah.
Does everybody in podcast land, video podcast land, know how many motorcycles you own? Do you even know how many you own?
I do. Oh no, I did, but I had a chart. I had a spreadsheet that had all the numbers and VIN numbers and stuff like that, and it kind of got out of date. but it's in the plus or minus 3. I can get within plus or minus 3
That's
of
cool.
the total number. Yeah, I actually, Erica, my renter, she left, and I picked up a nice TTR 125 in the deal.
Yeah,
So I got another. So it's
I remember Erica.
yeah. So it's plus 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So Jerry, designing all kinds of stuff. I saw a couple new T-shirt designs, or actually hoodies.
Well, when I do a design, you got to jam it on something. And I know it's a little bit early for hoodies right now, but I just popped it on there. There's all sorts of blanks to put the image onto. And I wanted to see what it looked like because production takes time. You put the order in and I'll have it in 2 weeks. And then someone dies, someone has COVID, the baby fell asleep driving the train. It doesn't happen. So you have to think ahead, you know? So yeah, there's a couple of new designs up my sleeve. There's always something going on. I'm over here melting down crayons in a spoon. And
That's totally not normal.
I just thought I'd share them with you so you could look at them. I'm not forcing you to wear any Fuck You Racing Regime swag, but it's up to you. But that's a nice shirt you have on right now.
This shirt will.
You should sell those. You should.
It will go on sale very soon. Like George always says, he says I'm adverse to making money, and I don't even want to make money doing this. I just want to. I just want to promote the brand, get it out there, because someday we'll be sitting here and it will be the 500th show, and I'll be sitting there going, man, we've been doing 500 shows. It still sucks. I can barely even learn how to push the buttons. So we'll see.
Matt owning out on you is an indication of his displeasure with the overall Tech Talk Taco Tuesday punch that's lacking. So Matt's like, whoa, I'm backing out of here. I'm going to stop wearing button-down shirts, shoes that have shine on them, maybe even tuck the shirt in with a belt. He's getting ready for Oscar's Steakhouse down there with the old mafia dudes. It's a look.
So you learned all that from me complaining?
I learned what? All the stuff about Matt?
Yeah.
No, I've seen Matt dressed up before in a catalog.
Yeah. Which catalog was that?
I Plead the Fifth.
Okay, got it.
It was an online catalog. Erica pointed me in the direction of it before she boned out to Parts Unknown. She left us.
Right.
She left us holding the bag.
When he was managing my Grindr account, I had no idea what it was, and then somebody told me. So,
well,
hey,
talk about two up in the rear.
Yeah, this show always takes a turn for the worst. Hey, I got some questions that I can pull up from our thing. Actually, there's a lot of interesting comments that we have on some of our videos. I should have checked this earlier today. So, Jerry,
yes,
they want to know if on the Cove, if there's any wind buffeting on the freeway. See, this is a question that Matt can answer. See if he's paying attention. See if he's listening.
Oh, I've been listening.
If it feels like somebody's, I thought we were going to hear somebody trip over the studio and break stuff. Matt, any wind buffeting on the Cove?
None that I really recall.
Yeah.
But I think it's like the wind noise.
Right. Well, it's kind of, it's when you're going, the wind catches your visor and stuff and kind of gets your head to shake around.
Huh?
So when you were on the last stretch, when you were trying to fall asleep on the motorcycle, coming back in a perump after our 16-hour day, did you get any wind buffeting?
I don't recall any of that. No.
Yep. See, then the answer is no. I didn't notice it either when I rode it around here. I never really did any super prolonged high speed stuff except for on the dry lake bed where I tried to see how fast it went, which I've already forgotten. But if you need to know how fast it goes, please check on the video that we did up on dirtbiketest.com. So, yeah, good on you, Matt. Thanks for paying attention there, keeping this show afloat.
Yeah.
Get back to your juice box.
Yeah, I'm just.
Hey, do we,
Well, I was actually just dressing up. I have this really nice steak I go to, and I was just putting on my extra layer of polish on the shoes.
but no makeup, right?
None yet, but we'll see.
Little product in the hair. That's all he needs.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There might be another business on the side that may not
Oh, you
need.
have a new guest. Does that mean I can go now?
We do have a new guest.
Cool.
Hey, well, hey Jerry, I just want to say really thanks from the bottom of Tech Talk Taco Tuesday's cold and lifeless heart. We would like to say thanks for the image designs, and if you are out there in regular world and you need an image designed, check out JB Black on Facebook. Is that the best place?
Yeah, it's JBBLAKK on Facebook. You can contact me there, or just get in touch with Jimmy. He has my details, and I'll be more than happy to trade you a design for cold hard cash. Unlike the guy that called me about a logo today, and we went through all the nuances of it, and I said, does this, he was the middleman, does he have any idea how much this would cost? He goes, no, but what's the sort of ballpark? I gave him the ballpark. He goes, let me run that by him. I'll be right back. 1-900 crickets for the rest of the day. So if you want something designed, I'm more than happy to talk to you. But if you're a tire kicker, you can definitely fuck off.
Hey, Rated G show here. Not really. So let's just say that someone actually took the the logo that you sent me, the AI logo, the Tech Talk Taco Tuesday one that I can't put up right now because it kills the audio. And I'm so dangerous with that Photoshop thing. I went in there and I tried to click the orange color and turn it to blue to turn it into a Yamaha. Does that make you roll over in your grave?
Well, it's funny that you say that. No disrespect whatsoever to Yamaha, because when I was adding I called you to ask you who was the number one sponsor of the show. I had a spot. I love Bob Starr and the Yamaha crew myself. And I knew it was a KTM, and the whole thing, my brain was like, it's a KTM, Yamaha logo, but that's the Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. That's the logo. It's in there. So it's no disrespect to KTM or to Yamaha. It's just you couldn't change that to blue, and people aren't that dumb.
Yeah, they all make great products, and this is the cool thing about living around here.
We all have to live together.
Jerry, I did go in there and try to click it around and turn the bike blue.
Did you try it in Photoshop or in Illustrator?
In Photoshop. Yeah, there's some of those fancy tools that Trevor taught me how to use.
Get the eyedropper, select color, select same color.
But that color is not the same color. It actually fades and does all this other stuff. But it started looking
orange
funky.
On the KTM's all orange. It's the Taco that has a gradient.
Yeah, it's a pretty complex design. You and your buddy did a great job with that.
Tim Beaumont from the UK.
Yeah,
Tim did an awesome design
job on that. So,
all right.
Anyways, if you need a logo, send smoke signals out over Area 51 to Jerry. He'll pick up and get you sorted. Jerry, thanks a bunch. Great to have you on the show, and we'll keep in touch.
And tell Matt that I love him. I know I make fun of him all the time, but that's what you do when you like someone. You tease them. It's the Boston way.
Oh, I was laughing.
That's right.
Appreciate it.
I know you don't. I know you have soft hands, but not soft skin.
Right on. Okay, so it's getting to be that time where we go ahead and take a little bit of a break, which is interesting because I think I know how to make this work, which is should work. We'll come back. We're going to do the product of the week. I will talk about our sponsors again right after the break because this show would not be possible without them. And of course, they allow us to do what we do here. They don't tell us. They very few of them give us any sort of reads that we have to do. They know we'll talk about everything, and the reason they're sponsors of the show is because I do truly believe and trust in their products. And even if their product is the best one in my world, it may not be the best one for you. And if you asked a question about it, I would explain that to the best of my ability. So I'm not your usual internet influencer. And with that, listen to some.
The defending champion the all-new Yamaha YZ450F.
What's up, Moto Buddies? Mike here from Taco Moto Co. What is the Taco Touch? It's the best service in the industry. Virtually 24/7 tech support via email or text, and it's like having a dirt bike doctor on call every day of the year, helping you fix your bike or recommend parts or setups for you. If you've ever received an order from us, you'll know that the Taco Touch extends to our fulfillment, and our orders come with the coolest stickers that you've ever had, buying parts from anybody before, and a handful of root beer barrel candies. All of our Taco Moto Co. branded components come with a no questions asked lifetime warranty, and we'll even extend out the warranty of other manufacturers, OEM, and aftermarket parts where we can, sometimes for life. We test and tune endlessly and exhaustively and obsessively. We're trying to destroy everything that we can before you get your hands on it, to look for weaknesses and to improve it, or to make recommendations to the manufacturer. And if it's something that doesn't meet grade, then we don't offer it on the store. Everything that we carry is something that we have personally used, tested, and ridden, and raced, and knows meets the high Taco Touch demanding standard. Go out and get some adventure.
There we go. We're back. How long before we get back on? Like right now. So, Trevor, welcome to Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. Trevor Hunter of Dirt Bike Test fame, winner of the Vegas to Reno.
Yes.
So,
Big winner.
Big winner.
Yep.
So, how if the team that finished in front of you had the guy get on the bike that was the name on the team,
Yep.
how much would they have beat you by?
Depends on who you ask. If you ask that rider, they would have smoked us. If you ask anyone else that knew anything about dirt bikes, we probably would have passed them and beat them. So just depends on who you ask, I guess.
If he got on the bike.
Yeah. If you got on
No, but just the way it stood. If they would, so who was on the who could have been the rider record on that bike?
Clayton Roberts or Shane Logan.
Okay, so
Yeah.
if one of them had been so I thought it was only one person who rode the qualifying.
That was Clayton.
That was Clayton.
Yeah.
And he was definitely pretty fast.
Yeah. No, he's a really good rider. Even Shane, super really good rider. Both won in Baja before, when Heron Hounds and stuff. So yeah, they're all really good riders.
Yeah, but and if they had signed up like that and the way it finished, you guys were what, a minute back?
Yeah.
At the end?
Yeah.
On time, I thought I saw something like 1 minute and 4 seconds.
Yeah, it's 1:04 on adjusted time.
Yeah. So I mean, nothing to. I know what it's like to get second place at that race. I think you do too.
So I do.
So, but anyways, well, congratulations. I mean, yeah, if I, I, I honestly, and this is just me talking because I saw, somebody forwarded me and made me look at the Facebook thing about all the stuff that was going on, and I'm just like, I'm like 50 some odd years old,
Yep.
and I don't think I would like put myself on a team and not ride. Like even at my advanced age,
Yeah.
like Jim O'Neill tried to pay me money, not very much, knowing Jim O'Neill, but he tried to
Yep.
pay me money to get to ride on his 30 and 40 team down in Baja. And he's like, yeah, but you get to win. And I'm like, oh, you get to win too.
Yeah.
And you're not, but at least there it's legal to get on the bike, ride it off the start line, go to the first turn like 100 feet away
Yep.
and hand the bike off. And then you're now all good, which is, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, hey, and I mean, good on, Dean Potts is the one who did the Bonanza plumbing teams down
Yep.
in Baja and stuff all the time. He put his company on the side of the bike. He didn't sign up as rider or record or anything. He put the best riders and paid the best riders to go there and do the things, and never tried to get any credit like for himself. He
No,
was just in the background making stuff happen, right?
I mean, that's the way I'd want to do it if that was me, but
Yeah.
everyone's different. So
Yeah.
that's, yeah, it's how the ball bounced that day. So,
Yeah. We don't really talk about racing here unless it's me.
but
So.
I'll say this, Jimmy, with that win, we got Fasst Company, Bulletproof Designs, who else? DDC Sprockets. We got all those companies, Vegas Reno win. So that's a positive. They're all supportive
Awesome.
of our show.
This is true. And actually, I didn't know you were running the DDC Sprockets on there. So that's one less thing you have to worry about. They're actually our first sponsor of the show here. I'll go to the wide shot really quick, and I know what I got to do. I got to click this other button. There is actually a lot going on when you're trying to do this. So DDC Sprockets right here, proud sponsor of the show, along with Bulletproof Designs, Scott Sports. I got to open this box. I'm going to do another box opening. I don't know if nobody saw it because nobody watches this show. But last week I did a box opening, and it was a water filter for a house. Because, that's what people do on shows. They do boxes. But this is Scott's ISDE 6 days signature edition goggle. So it's the Prospect 6 days 2023 Argentina, which actually Ricky's down there racing in Argentina right now. I don't know if he's having a good time or not. Somebody told me about some of his posts, and it sounded like he's a little pissed off again, which means he'll ride really fast. But
Yep.
there's a reason he gets kind of pissed. It's basically the Scott 6 days goggle is just a full boost Prospect with an awesome band and colorway. I'm trying to balance it here. There we go. And if you know anything about the Scott goggles, they probably have the best rubber materials, in my opinion, the best foam combinations. It's just a good standard issue goggle. And if you haven't tried the amplified lens or a light sensitive lens, definitely give those things a try. So back to Trevor. What have we been testing lately?
We have been gearing up for our part 2 of our 450 shootout. And so we had quite a few of our riders out with all the bikes this last week and kind of doing a little shakedown, and got a lot of interesting feedback and opinions. And yeah, it's going pretty good.
On the modified bikes.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to move over to the side a little bit there. Yeah, wrong side.
There we go.
There we go. I was trying to fix you on the computer, but it didn't work. So, would you say that things went a little bit haywire, in your opinion? Trying to modify bikes for multiple people?
It sounded like a good idea in my head, and then now that we're here was it 4 or 5 months later, and it's still kind of trying to work it out. Is yeah, it's a lot more work than I expected, but it's a lot of learning a lot, and it's really interesting kind of seeing what everyone likes and doesn't like. And I thought one bike was a clear favorite, and someone else thinks another bike is a clear favorite, and it's just yeah, it's all over the board, which is still interesting.
But at least stock, it seemed like there were some, I don't know, there were some consistencies with stock. I was kind of blown away by how much it changed, just in my opinion, over the course of 2 days at the same place.
Yeah.
Just making really small changes. But now you're making kind of big changes based on, we'll call them complaints.
Yep.
Although yeah, there's I would say people complain about certain things, but it's if you're modifying it for just one guy, I think that you could make any one of those bikes into whatever. But if you're trying to modify it and then have multiple people ride them, I think you're going to get more, like, it's going to get more polar on both sides.
Yeah.
Because
luckily, like, most of the changes have been kind of in my hands, I guess you could say. So been a little bit revolved around me, but still kind of taking into consideration what some of the other people were saying and thinking. So we've kind of kept it almost under one person, but still kind of more broader as well in that sense.
Right. So what let's just kind of go into the specifics. What kind of changes? I know you went to Michelin tires on all of them?
Yeah, so we haven't put those on yet 'cause we're waiting to do the full test and everything. But all of the bikes we fitted with Michelin tires, which I think their front tire is probably my favorite front tire at the moment. I really like their front tire, especially under braking and everything. So I think that'll be a good kind of base platform that all the bikes will feel good on. And then from there, I've done the usual, like suspension, some mapping stuff, some comfort items like handlebars and whatnot. All the
Flex
old guys,
bars, right?
The Honda will have flex bars because I think that bike could really benefit from it.
All the old guys. Here we go.
Yeah.
Well, you might as well just put a damn recluse clutch into it too.
We did that too for the Honda.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the
like
Honda,
the auto clutch.
Yep, the Honda and the KTM both have auto clutches.
Huh.
So
I would have put I probably would have put, if I chose one, I would have put it in the Kawasaki, I think.
Really?
Yeah. See, there's where it's just
yeah.
It's just that for me, that motor, the way you can smooth that motor out even more was with that, and it's the one that'll pull like the third and fourth gear out of turns better than anything else, and then you don't have to worry about it. Just whack the throttle and let it go. Well, so what I'm gonna do, when are you doing this? I don't know when my WR is gonna be done.
So we're doing like the lighter riders next Thursday, and then the heavier older riders will be soon after that.
Okay, we going to SRA again?
There's an SRA next month. We can make it happen.
Yeah, maybe that'll work. I got a kind of a crazy schedule, but I do have some openings. I might want to, because I've my WR 450. I've got some stuff coming for it.
Uh-oh.
I got the seat. I got the gas tank. I'm gonna put steering stabilizer, Scott steering damper on it,
Mm-hmm.
and flex bars, and that bike will be good. Because basically I'm trying to get a little more comfort in the seat, a little taller in the seat,
Yep.
more fuel range, and these are the things that kind of like complain about. Steering stabilizer, I've never met a bike that didn't like one. And then, of course, going to the flex bars means that I can actually start running the suspension just a little bit stiffer, and then everything will work out. So, what Michelin tires are you running? Starcross 6, right?
Yeah, Starcross 6. I believe they sent the medium soft front and then medium hard rear.
And are we running Moose?
I think we'll do tubes just to be consistent. Couldn't get mooses from them, so just do tubes to make it consistent across the board.
Right.
Unless someone wants to sponsor us some free mooses.
A bunch of mooses.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you'll break them in and then go take them and race with them.
Maybe.
Yeah, they haven't been doing enough rally testing out here, so I'm starting to run short on mooses too. Trevor says Finn 825. Will you be trying the 24 450 FX?
I really hope so, because I think that could be a really interesting bike. Especially, I just learned something new about it. Yamaha actually lowered the suspension 10 millimeters front and rear, kind of like KTM or not KTM, but Husky, and I guess KTM too. They've all been doing. For the FX, Yamaha did that as well for this new year,
Huh.
which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, when I rode that bike at Washougal, I was thinking to myself, man, this could be really, really good in an FX style bike, because I've been riding the WRs quite a bit, a 250 and 450, and then I hopped on that, and just kind of some of the stuff I felt, and it's one of those things where I don't know, because it could either get a lot better or it could actually get worse. It's one of those you just don't know. But now that you know, like them lowering it down a little bit, I can actually see maybe some reasons for that, and I kind of know why they do that. That makes me think that they're onto something, that they're not just, you know, it's not like some of the other ones where they just kind of put a different ignition curve in it and say go.
Yep.
I know, you know, with Yamaha definitely takes the time to do a lot of testing with those things. So pretty interesting. So what else is coming up? What's new in the Trevor world?
I don't know. It's doing a lot of trying to ride a lot, test some stuff.
I mean, ride mountain bikes.
Ride mountain bikes. Got the Honda 450X working pretty good, actually. So hopefully soon we can get a comparison with that and the WR. I think that'd be kind of interesting.
And the next time, well, no, you're not gonna you don't want to do a full race 450. Is the one you raced in Vegas to Reno? Was that our test bike?
Yeah.
Oh, that's turned into a full race bike.
Yeah, it's basically a WR with an ignition, right? Or ECU.
It wouldn't take much to make a WR a full race motor for sure, but yeah, we'll have to figure. You know, I'd have to get a loud exhaust and all that stuff. But I'll tell you what, if I were doing that, I wouldn't bring it to the shootout and just throw a filter skin right on top of it and think it was going to be the best thing ever.
Yeah, but have you seen?
I would actually.
What if we
I
don't
would
have,
test it.
What if we don't have? We've tested our mechanics, and those definitely don't work. So that's our problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, you got I tell you what, if you can find me a filmer, I know a guy that's a good mechanic. I'll trade you some filmer for some mechanic stuff. I don't go throwing brake pins in the dirt and stuff like that. So. That's a trick for another person.
Yeah.
So
touchy subject.
Right. Oh, you got a little anxious, did he?
No, he did what he normally does.
Yeah. Hey, and when you asked me if it was a good idea to throw the filter skin on, and I said yes, I figured you had actually used them and tested them before.
Well, we practiced pulling them off and never had a problem, but that was different come race day.
You got to go ride the bike to make sure it doesn't change the jetting on your highly tuned race machine.
Yeah. we found
Always
that out way.
Never race with something new that haven't tested on that bike. You should, like the bike you raced on your qualifier should have been pretty much nothing should have changed. I know you go to that dual sport tire in the back, which is kind of surprising. How many of those did you go through? 2?
We went through 2. We honestly probably could have almost ran one the whole time. They actually looked really good when we changed both of them, or when we changed the one and at the end of the race, the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, right on.
So
that's it. I don't have any other news or updates over here. You know anybody who wants to buy a CR500? Street legal in some place? $7,500.
Oh, I don't know about that. Well, I know we have a KX500 project coming out soon, or in the works. But I don't know.
Oh, really? Who's building that? Brett?
Robert Bear.
Robert Bear. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was always a Kawasaki guy. Steven Stratton wants to know, what dual sport tire did you run?
The K270.
Kenda.
Kenda K270.
K270. Yeah, I am a Kenda guy. I run the Parker's DTs front and rear almost all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you straight away that I would never do that.
Yeah.
Hey, let's see. I got a question from YouTube for you here, Trevor. It says, I think it's a question. At Peace 1619 says, thank you for the 2023 KTM 350 XCF comments. I feel the same way. And he's talking about racing a CRF 450X at the Glen Helen. He says, the 2023 would be the best for soft soil. Frame is too stiff for my riding area. I had suspension valve for rocks and roots and added 6500 spring kit. It's down to the frame being too stiff. I will try the torque settings on the swing arm and the pivot. So he's curious about his 2023 Honda. You did compare it to the KTM 350, correct?
What was that?
Did you compare the CRF 450X to the KTM 350?
No, I think Brent kind of compared the 450 RX to the KTM 450.
Oh, okay. RX. Okay, that
RX.
is because it was talking about the 10 hours of Glen Helen. So
Yeah.
lots of R's and X's and CRFs and 350s and 450s. It's almost too much to keep track of. Let's see if there's any other questions that kind of relate to you here. YZ450 FX. Basically saying if Yamaha would make a 350, they would sell a ton of them. Because he bought a KTM instead. I'm frankly really surprised that there's no 350 yet, but I don't know why. Yeah, that's it. We're finished with questions, so you can go to bed now.
All right.
Too late. Starting to fade. So, okay, Trevor. Thanks for coming on Tech Talk, and I wonder if Chris Reel's gonna hop on here pretty soon. Hey, Tim, did you get any of those parts bolted on yet? How we doing there? You're going to get over to Tim real quick. See if Matt jumps. There he goes.
Yeah. Doing mooses right now, and boy, it's a sweaty mess right now.
Oh, mooses.
Job.
Did you watch the videos on how I change mooses on my hands and knees without the Rabaconda?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, with the Rabaconda in the background, by the way.
Yeah.
And people are like, why would you do it? Yeah, Chris, I emailed you the link earlier, I'm pretty sure, to the one at the DPS Technical. So hopefully that'll come through. Yeah, just get the bead down in the dish. That's all you have to do.
I know I could. I'm going to take extra. I'm running moose balls.
Okay.
I've had really good luck with them. I ran them in Colorado last week, and I got 7 days on them in a row, and I was very pleased with how they worked, how they felt. So now it's just going to be a matter of getting more time on them to kind of see what the life expectancy is. I know what they say, but now it's time for us to test it. Because I don't know. They always say good things, but I want to know for myself what the actual life expectancy is, because we've all seen the problems with the nitro mooses, not necessarily lasting as long as we hope they would.
Yeah, so it's kind of, for me, anytime we're talking about mooses, it's 85% installation. How they installed it, whether they got the lube in there right, whether it was the right size, all the things. Because if you do it the way you're supposed to, because I'm getting like 1,500 miles in Baja out of a nitro moose, and people are going, that's insane. And this is on a Kenda Equilibrium even, which is that big, huge, tire, which has no sidewall whatsoever, no sidewall strength. So it's actually as hard as it could be on the mooses, and I'm still getting that kind of mileage on it. And the only experience I have with moose balls, of course, I didn't install it. It came on a bike that we were handed, and they melted after one day of doing dual sport stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't know. And from testing that I've done with other brands of that have, we'll call it sectional mooses and stuff, they don't like they don't last in the higher speed stuff. They tend to, at least, so I guess in Colorado I'm guessing you did very little road miles.
The thing we did do a lot of high speed stuff, dirt roads, but that's not the same as asphalt. Asphalt, the temperature of the asphalt is always a factor, and then the speed is another factor. But when you're on dirt, even, there was one day that we did like 50 miles of high speed dirt roads. You could have followed me in the pickup truck and kept up, it was no big deal. It was just fast dirt roads. And I was surprised, my tires didn't feel hot when we were done. They seem fine. So I'm looking forward. Actually, I'll be dismounting my rear tomorrow that's on my dual sport, and kind of inspecting the moose balls and putting them in a new tire and just kind of checking them out. But ultimately, the thing I like about them is it felt really similar to my tubeless. I've been running tubeless for 15 years now, and I love them. But failures are always a concern, especially when you're doing a multi-day ride. Or for those that race, that's just, you can't have a chance of a failure. So moose is required. So, I'm just stoked that the moose balls feel bitchin'. They feel just like my tubeless, and I didn't feel that heavy. I don't know, just
the dead feeling.
Yeah, and
right.
When you feel a moose ball versus the nitro moose, there's a huge weight difference. A rear set of moose balls is almost 2 pounds lighter than an equivalent nitro moose. So there, I think, is where that dead feeling comes from. And then you feel it. The squishiness and the bounciness of the moose ball is much different.
Yeah, I think that I've had somebody try to explain to me why you have the dead feeling and how it kind of comes into play, but it's different. Like the Michelin's different than the Nitro Moose is different than like a Dunlop Moose, which I've run before. They all have a little bit different kind of a feeling. But when I've taken, like I said, and I couldn't tell on the bike that we had with the Moose balls because the tire was a different tire that has a ridiculously stiff sidewall, and so it wasn't allowing the bike to feel kind of the way or the Moose to feel the way that you would have noticed any sort of a difference. Like I said, it just heated up and failed. But again, we didn't put it in there, so I don't know how much lube was in there and if it was lubed properly and all that kind of stuff. So, can you show a moose ball? Is there one that you could put in your hand and hold it up?
Right. This
somebody in the chat wants to see it.
Here's a moose ball.
Like
this is a rear. They're kind of wedge shaped, but just the feel difference. This is just a segment of a nitro moose just for display. This is just a segment of a complete, and but just the feel difference of the squishiness. I mean, there's just such a difference, and then the weight. I mean, it's just amazing how light these things feel, and that's. I mean, I'm not a physicist, or I just have a lot of experience, and I think the dead feeling comes from the weight. I don't think there's any. I mean, 90% the weight, but then obviously the bounciness, I think, is a big factor too. But put those together is why the feel was awesome. I really was impressed.
Yeah. So people were asking like, because I've been running the Nitro Mooses for a long time. I actually run all of them because I get when the rally teams come by here, there's usually some Michelins laying around. They tend to run those a little bit, but I've run all of the different ones. Like I said, most of the time I'm running. Actually, I couldn't. Victor wants to know. He rode one of my bikes. He's like, "Which one was on that?" I'm like, "I don't remember. Can't tell you." But and then, are you running the Moose balls front and rear?
Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah. So that's. And then, have you ever considered running the balls with the tubeless?
I've seen. I forget who did a video on it. But no, I because of the complexity, I'm a mechanic, and
right.
I ran tubeless for years, and I loved it. I literally 15 years. I've got probably close to 30,000 miles. Dual sport, off road, desert. You name it.
Yeah.
I've had 2 or 3 failures. I did have a high pressure bladder fail once, and a couple of other times. So I had 3 failures total. couple of other times I cut the tire where it was very difficult to plug, and then the plug didn't hold because it was such a significant cut in the tire. So those are the only reasons that I'm willing to try mooses, because like I was just in Colorado on a 7-day ride. It's like, it was nice to not have to worry about, tire failures. Cause at that point, if I did get a slice in my tire, I'm riding in the Rockies. So getting a tire slice is a total possibility. I'd be trying to go to town and find a tire, and that so it's just for the peace of mind going with, the mooses, and now having mooses that I like the feel of, I'm stoked about.
Yeah, you think about how much money you're spending to go do a trip like that,
Right?
and you kind of, I'm trying to send an email here to get Chris on the show. You think about, it's okay. So it's an extra, couple $100 a wheel to get the things totally sanoed out, but then that you're not going to have a failure. Just one less thing that you're gonna worry about. And people are so scared of like, oh, I can't ride over 50 miles an hour on the pavement, and I can't do this, I can't do that. And it's like, I got lucky because I was doing a lot of testing of these things, and we were trying to make them fail. And I kid you not, if they're installed properly, which they always are when we're doing proper testing, because that can't be the reason that the things fail, they don't fail. It always came down to kind of installation and stuff. And it'd be interesting to see how we'll have you come back on and tell us how those moose balls actually end up working out. Cause like I said, heard good things about them. And, but I watched the guys in the quads all use the thing called the wedges. Have you ever seen those?
Yeah, I don't know quads, but I have heard something about the racers that use those. Yeah.
Yeah. And I tell you what, here we go. Copy link. Hold on. Send. I know I sent it.
On the ATVs, though, they've got the benefit of having bead locks, and I think they run double bead locks inside and outside rims, kind of like a trophy truck. So as long as they got foam in there, they got a little bit different program working, because of the way that the tire.
But the tools they have to spread the tires open, to pump those things, to get those things stuffed inside of them and everything. It's like, and they literally use very little lube, which is really kind of strange. I don't know if it's because the tire's smaller or whatever, however it worked. What size moose balls do you use? 2000 or 2001?
That's the part number he's referencing.
And how many tubes of lube do you put in each wheel? Like Finn, for me, I use 1 tube of Nitro Moose lube in the front and usually 1.5 in the rear. And I don't lube the moose up. Right. I only lube the inside of the tire, and then I put it in, and then sometimes I'll put a wrap of it around the bead. The dish of the rim. I'll kind of make sure that that's wet, so when it does get pushed in there, it's in there. But that stuff moves around pretty good on its own. And definitely when you're riding, it gets forced out. I mean, you start seeing, it starts seeping out between the bead when you're riding, especially on the front tires, and then it makes gooey mess on your fork legs and under your fender.
I always tell guys, the reason I put it all in the tire, like you just said, is because if you lube the moose, when you install it in the tire, it squeegees off some of it. And then when you install it on the rim, it squeegees off more. So in the end, how much did you lose? 1/3 of a tube, or you know what I mean? So it's like, if you get it all in the tire, it all is there for sure, and it will move its way around. And now you got a full tube of lube in there.
Yeah, and if you're worried about it, in all honesty, you're worried about it. If you get it in there, you got it all on the outside, you're worried about being on the inside. All you have to do is mark your wheel, okay? And this is something that we've actually tested. I know this. So you mark your wheel and you park it with the mark down. And then the next time you ride it, we're not talking about riding it for long. Just take it for a little bit up and down the street. Park it with that mark up at the top. And then you do it all 4 corners, and I guarantee you when you pull that thing off, there's going to be lube everywhere. Because it's like it believe it or not, if especially when that thing's getting compressed and stuff, it's actually pumping the lube around inside the
Right.
tire. It gets, when you're hitting bumps and stuff like that, but just heating it up and the kind of even the wheel being out of balance can kind of spread that stuff out. So yeah. And Victor made a comment here. He says, is there any danger of the moose balls turning blue from too much rubbing? That's Victor for you.
Yeah.
He's got
Hey, Jimmy,
got to get
I
the
was-
punchline in.
I was going to comment though earlier, just because it is the 200th show. Favorite guest host was Old Man Nate. Best.
Crazy Nate.
Crazy Nate. I still put him at the top of the list for best co-host. That guy was hilarious.
Yeah, and if you think he's funny, I tried to keep him in line on the Better Rider podcast too that we do. And he came on and told some stories as well. It might be worth a little bit of a listen there if you can dig that one up. But we try to keep that one a little more professional than this one. So if you're looking for some riding lessons, you want to become a better rider, go ahead and check out www.jimmylewisoffroad.com. There are no classes currently scheduled up there because we haven't scheduled them yet, but we will start in probably in October. Hopefully they'll open up the damn road to Baker, because they said it's flooded out. They're not going to open the damn road up till October. So it's really not that bad. It's the Caltrans is out there sleeping on the roads. I wish they'd get it done quicker so I can get back to California easier if I need to go, look at the beach. That's really the only reason to go back, I think. Or maybe swing by Inside Line Moto.
There you go. We're still here working.
hang out with my buddies, learn a thing or two about motorcycles.
Yeah.
So anyhow, well, thanks Tim for coming on. I think I sent the link over to Chris, so maybe he's going to be popping in here. George, do you have anything to say?
No, I'm just listening and learning.
Hey, Tim, while you've got your camera there, I was going to say take your camera and run it by some of the parts you're putting on there. Let's take a look at that stuff. Bulletproof designs.
Yeah, I'm getting ready, Jimmy. I've got your favorite bulletproof design going on after I get this front installed.
Front disc rotor. You're kidding me.
No, and if you look at the one on my old bike, you'll see it's probably not a terrible idea.
I think you're overestimating the work that thing's doing.
All right, I got the rear, bulletproof foot pegs, radiator guards.
Those are stout.
Yeah, the radiator guards are. I did do the fan. That's the KTM fan kit. I like it because it's just a plug and play. I think the Trail Tech one is too.
It's also plug and play.
Right. Got my my flex bars, my radio push to talk, GPS hardwired in.
Hey, do you know that Bulletproof Design makes billet throttle housings for that bike?
I saw something about that. I haven't ordered. Oh, that's something else I got coming. A lot of people don't like the feel of these new switches, and I'm kind of one of them, even though I haven't ridden the bike yet. Moto Minded has a bitchin' switch, and I'll have that tomorrow. The Moto Minded switch. But yeah, I did see that they got a throttle housing, which
yeah, they just got all the colors in, and I noticed you went with silver with all your stuff. So, but they were waiting on the orange ones because everybody's got to have that orange throttle.
Notice anything else about the colors of my bike?
I can't. The color, it's a little bit far away from my eyes right now. But
well,
is it changed?
Yeah, I bought the men's version of this motorcycle. No purple.
Yeah.
The first thing I did when I took it out of the crate was I made some modifications and got that purple off of there. I don't know why. I just can't stand purple.
I tried to turn a KTM purple today when Jerry sent me that new logo that we had. I played around with Photoshop, and the orange and the blue made purple on the Photoshops, but I'm not very good at it. What is that? What's that? The TPI cover?
TPS cover, but then it's got
cover.
this extra thing that comes down here because you've got injectors and electrical stuff that's underneath there. That nice to have that protected.
I think especially when you're riding in places with punji sticks and things, and I've seen guys drop their bike on the inopportune rock and whatnot, so that's not a bad idea. Are you one that doesn't like somebody that I was talking to does not like the plastic covers that go over the engine cases.
No, I do. I'm
That-
a big believer. They don't have them available
Okay.
for this bike yet, but no, I do like them.
That's me, Jimmy.
Right. Oh, it's Trevor.
I
Yeah,
hate
Trevor
those.
stepped up. Yeah,
Hey.
he hates them. I have really good luck with them.
Hey, another hot tip, Jimmy. On these new bikes, I got the front wheel off, so I'm like literally between the fork here. This
Yep.
radiator hose seems very exposed. So I dug through my old parts box, found an old hose, split it,
Yep.
in the back of that and zip tied it over just because it seems so vulnerable right there that I felt like that was just a cheap and easy way to, protect that from sticks and I don't know, whatever else could get at it.
Yeah, we used to do that on a lot of race bikes and stuff. That was a thing to kind of protect, from whether just rocks going up there and, poking at stuff but stick coming through there. But yeah. Well, thanks a lot, Tim. I appreciate the time, and we'll hopefully see you out in the trail soon.
Awesome. Cool, man. Keep it up.
Yeah. And I think I sent it. I think I managed to send over the thing. So let's see. The Moto Mind switch, Brenda says, gives more room for the handguards when using the flex bars. Okay. I like the Better Rider podcast, but you haven't done any new shows lately. This is correct. I went riding. That's my only excuse. Okay. Again, let's a big shout out to the sponsors of the show. Today I had to do a photo today, a head to toe photo in gear for some reason that I had to do. So I put on some of my climb adventure riding gear, and I thought it was going to melt because it was 105 degrees, but it's actually so nice that I didn't melt. That's all I'm going to say. So I didn't get to go riding. Chris Reel, welcome back to Tech Talk Taco Tuesday.
Well, it's good to be here, Jimmy.
It was a little struggle getting you in there. Yeah, I don't think your email's doing too good, but I sent it over there a couple times. But glad that it worked on the through the phone somehow. So I was kind of curious. You're a casual observer of the show. Are we doing okay?
Yeah, you're doing really good, Jimmy.
Yeah. Okay. That's it. You don't want to. There's no. You're doing okay, but you don't want to.
Well,
I'll let you think about that for a couple minutes. But Finn wants to know, what does Chris think of the magnetic oil filter? That was too much thinking going on.
the better oil filter you can use is ideal. So with the magnetic filters, I like them, but I also like a fine membrane filter too, because not everything is magnetic. So I'm kind of a fan of the cleaner you can keep the oil, the better off you are. And so
Yeah.
no, in my bikes
So
and race engines, I tend to run multiple filter media.
yeah. So you're saying, because I think what he's asking about, there's a filter that goes in the KTM's. It's a giant magnet that literally replaces the paper oil filter. And I've actually been testing it. I probably should finally write the test on it because I'm pretty sure I've got enough information. But like you said, what it does is the non-ferrous stuff, the stuff that doesn't stick to it, is going to still continue to go around the system. And there's all you have at that point is a screen to catch the stuff. And some of those things are a little bit smaller than that, I would say. Some of the clutch material, for instance.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you're watching this on. Are you watching it on the on one of the live feeds? I think so. Because you're doing a delay. Is there any way you can, Chris? Is there any way you can switch over to the Zoom meeting and just go 100% Zoom meeting? Because I was sitting there, I was going, how come there's such a delay?
Okay,
Anyways,
is that better?
Let's see. Now we can talk without the 5 to 10 second delay.
Yeah, is that better?
Yeah, that's better. We're better now.
Cool.
So
Kind of looked like
Okay.
that guy that had the stroke there. What was his name?
Thanks, George. Yeah, you're next. So it was funny. We were talking, and I could see that there was. I'm like, oh, he's really thinking about these questions tonight. But you weren't being delivered the question just yet.
Yeah. The thing about oil filtration, there's a term called the beta ratio, which is the particulate size that is captured, and so abrasive wear, you have all kinds of debris inside of a motor, particularly if you have a clutch stirring things up. So the the various filter medias will capture different sizes and different types of materials. Magnetic filters are excellent. However, being a lubrication engineer, all particulates matter, and so um, filtering out, some of the smaller materials that are non-ferrous, the aluminum and other things, that's beneficial. And also an oil filter is an excellent way when you're changing your oil to dissect the filter and see kind of what's in there, and that will give you an indication on keep it or sell it.
Yeah. Yeah, sell it quick. I use it. But here's the interesting thing with that really strong magnetic filter, the Moto one. So I've been putting it in different bikes. And so I'm using it kind of like a cleaning tool because I have a bunch of different bikes. So I'll just pull lay the bike over on its side, pull the paper filter out, drop this thing in there, go for a ride, and then pull it back out. And it's amazing how much stuff that you have on the magnet, and it's more like a grease really, because it's all the super fine particulate stuff that must be making its way through the filter. But I just started doing that and kind of round robin ran it through, and then on a couple of bikes I popped a new filter in, and I wanted to see if there was any kind of change in what the filter looked like after a couple more rides. So not super scientific, but kind of we'll call it MacGyver testing of the filter. And you already have that one little magnet that's on the drain plug on a lot of bikes. And then what a lot of people also don't realize is that sometimes if you have a wet ignition, that your magnet in there is actually doing sometimes the same thing.
Very, very, very true. And it's also important, a lot of people don't realize that not all of the oil on every cycle of the lubrication, not all of it goes through the oil filter. There's a lot that gets bypassed, so it'll catch it on the next lap. But a magnetic filter that, when there's when there's a lump or a chunk that goes past the magnet will catch it, and that's kind of a big deal. Keep that abrasive material contained inside of the onto the magnet, so it doesn't make another lap to cause you a little bit more grief.
And at that point, are we talking about kind of like large pieces?
Well, I call them lumps and chunks, and so it depends upon, most of the time you're catching fairly small 10 to 20 micron size debris. And so, to put that into perspective, a hair, off of one of us bald guys, that's about 100 micron size. So imagine something much smaller than that. So the larger pieces that you might get in there, piece top of a gear, or a little bit of casting material, or or shavings from something, a magnet will definitely catch that, and that's a real good thing.
Yeah. And like Flying Brian says in the chat there, the clutch fibers are the ones that keep going past the magnet a lot of times. And
Yeah, and so
that's
I do trust the paper or the smaller filters that capture the other stuff, and and you know and clean oil is a good thing in a motor.
yeah, for sure. So the other interesting thing is like you said, using the paper filter as a sign of health. I don't think very many people do that, and I'm kind of in my world. I'm kind of on my personal bikes. I do like 2 oil changes to 1 filter, and like in the beginning, yeah, the first couple oil changes I'm doing the filter, but after that, I'm sort of not not changing it out every single time because it doesn't really need to, and I've probably run my oil quite a bit longer than what the what the manual will tell you a lot of times on some of the competition bikes, because I don't feel like I'm that hard on it, and more often than not I'm finding that the clutch is what's really killing the oil in engines that have a wet clutch. And if you're easy on the clutch, your oil is going to last a lot longer than if you're the guy that's slipping that sucker all the time.
Yeah, a clutch, a clutch by its nature sheds debris, and a clutch by its nature also generates, friction when you're slipping it. The oil temperatures just go through the roof, and when oil gets hot, it gets thin, and when the oil gets thin, the parts rub, and when parts rub, you got debris. And so,
Yeah.
you know, um, you know, you know, I'm kind of the same way on my filter maintenance. Sometimes I'll pull a filter just to take a look at it, dump the oil, put the put the what I call the used filter back in. Um, but as soon as the oil starts to turn color for whatever reason, clutch, or maybe I get a little bit trigger happy on the clutch, or I'm testing a clutch where I may have a slippage issue, I change oil, um, just kind of because, and it's an oil change is a heck of a lot cheaper than a gasket set.
Yeah. Hey, and so Mark Daniels has a good question. Paper filter versus the stainless steel mesh filters.
I like a paper filter. I love a stainless filter because you can clean them, but a paper
Yep.
filter, but a paper filter typically will capture, in its pleats and in its pore size. A paper filter will typically capture the very small particulates better than a, a stainless filter, and it's basically because of the open area mesh that is clearance. And a proper stainless filter typically filters everything down good enough to where the abrasive wear isn't that that bad for the engine. But I do like the paper filters a lot.
Yeah. And the disadvantage of the paper filters is if they get wet.
Oh, they don't like that they're cardboard. They don't like water.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've run both, and in reality, all the different things I've tried, they're sort of like, if you construct this thing, oh, if this happens, or like, okay, if water gets in your engine, then you don't want to have a paper filter, then you want to have a stainless steel filter. Oh, well, but if this, then it's okay, you want to have the magnet one, and getting all these kind of scenarios. And like we when we were talking about one of our early shows you came on, we were talking about the best oil, and you said the best oil is
You, as long as your motorcycle has some oil in it and the right amount, you're better than most.
yeah. Yeah, because the problems generally occur from like when we were talking about the earlier, we were talking about the moose problems. What are the moose failures from? The person that mounted them. When people have a problem with their bike, what caused the problem? The last thing you worked on it. And so it's kind of, if you just keep it simple and just do the right things instead of kind of going crazy, I think you can get away with a lot. So I'm gonna get you back to the the question. How am I doing? How are we doing here? You got
You're-
you're doing good, Jimmy. But come on, give me something. I gotta figure out how to improve this.
Well, I really think that since the show kind of is influenced heavily by the listeners, um, I I would think that the show could improve if you had a defined theme of some of the topics posted maybe a little bit in advance. So you say we're going to talk about the new Yamaha or the new KTM or and something else, and you name that, and that would promote a little bit more interaction. Because right now it's really
It's a
good,
mystery.
but you kind of don't know exactly where the show is going to go, and so that's I think the show could evolve a little bit with just a couple identified targets that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about, I don't know, mini bikes or electric motorcycles, or since 6 days is coming up pretty quick, some stuff about prepping bikes that some
Hey,
of us that.
I talked to via messaging Jeff Fredette the other day, because he actually posted, he rode the Stark Varg.
Yep.
Somebody had one and he got to ride it, and I've known Jeff forever. Jeff, when I rode my very first 6 days, speaking of 6 days, knew I was a younger rider, and he stuck around, and because I was on a club team, and he stuck around, and when I came in to change my tire, he knelt down right next to me and kind of gave me some really good advice on how to change a tire, just because he wanted to help. And it was funny because the way he was teaching me at that time, which is not a great time to teach, but he was there to help, was exactly the opposite way that I changed a tire, the way that I'd practiced, the way that he wanted me to start on the other side. He thought I should start on the other side because he thought I might have just been, and it probably looked like it, just a crazy young kid just doing everything wrong. And so I remember sitting there being really patient, trying to help me do all this stuff, but I'm like, I'm not going to break routine. I'm going to do what I knew how to do. But he kind of stood there, watched, and at the end, I've always been super thankful of, because for the most part, going into the 6 days, he was a competitor. I was racing against him because we were riding the 125 or 200 class at the time. And then when I was there, he was there like kind of to help. But anyway, so I've always respected Jeff. He rode the Stark and said some pretty interesting things about it. Was very, very positive. And he rode it in a hair scramble. And I thought that was pretty cool. But he's also getting ready. He's doing the container to ship over to 6 days, getting all that stuff ready. But that's a guy I'd like to get on the show. And I think he's also riding a 1900s motorcycle across the country in a motorcycle cannonball run thing. So that guy's still out there doing it on cool stuff. So I want to get him on the show to talk about some of these adventures.
When he's going cross country, Pahrumph's a good place to get lost in. I mean,
I wonder where they're coming through. I imagine, because it is kind of a show, I imagine they would come through Vegas, but they're on a schedule. I mean, when they're doing that stuff, they're long days on those bikes.
Oh yeah.
So, Jeff Fredette, the original king of the KDX 200, which was one of my favorite bikes. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Thanks for that. Thanks for that comment. I think getting a topic and stuff. And what else would really help, I think, is if you're out there listening and stuff, share this show. Tell a friend. Let people know about it, because the more people we have out there, the more questions we get. We all learn from the questions. I learn when people go get stuff right and wrong, both, because I'm still doing this today as well. So one last question. You got to do this. Worst motorcycle ever?
Is that a question for me?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Do you have one?
Yes. I did some development on the 700cc ATK Mako single cylinder 2-stroke.
That was on my list.
And it's like shooting Dirty Harry's gun. Everybody wants to shoot it just one time. But but you know, after thinking about, all of the, bikes that have come and gone, the specialty brands, I would have to say some of these early prototype, cool concept, unique idea, but a bad idea. Um, I you know I you know I have to say that, you know you're that 700 cc Mako ATK stuffed in an aluminum frame. I mean, it was pure evil. But if I could find one, I'd buy it because it's sort of like
But could you start it?
I could start that thing every single time once we figured out kind of the
The
yeah,
decomp?
compression release and some timing. Um, but if and it was a weird kickstart, position. When it kicked
Yeah.
back, it would shoot you over the bars. It would kick you back so hard that you didn't want to screw up kicking it. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, so I would say that motorcycle is like it was a great concept, but and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
had a huge
Well,
piston. It didn't rev.
it didn't rev.
It
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 like it revved to 3,000, I think. I
Yeah,
think it got to
and then
3,000
it had
RPM.
it had so much torque that it would just light up the rear wheel. Then every once in a while at speed, the damn thing would catch traction. You do a surprise monster wheelie going across the desert, and and it was like trying to make friends with a Tyrannosaurus Rex. You never knew if you were going to be friends or it was going to kill you. So that
I
that that's
that
my that's my worst motorcycle ever. And
that one made my list. I talked about it on the worst show just a little bit. So I'll give you the shot. Best motorcycle.
wow. Well, right now, my motorcycle that I'm getting along with the best is a Husky 501. Um, and that's because I'm a little bit long in the tooth, and that the power band on that and the low frequency vibration to my all original parts. I'm having to say for a dual sport trail ride bike, that right now I think that is the best for me, but everybody's going to have the best for them. And so
Yeah.
I kind of think
It's
that.
not a bad pick. I think I ended up picking the KTM 500, EXC almost any year, and that was one of those things where it's just like this bike fits everybody. And the Husky's kind of the same thing. I prefer the KTM for a couple of small reasons, but I know a lot of people that like the Husky for the exact reasons that I don't. So yeah, kind of easy thing. It's really kind of a do all, because I think that was one of the parameters was like the all the bike. It's funny that you're the first person that didn't like on when we talk about the worst bike ever. It seems like when we ever talk about it, there has to be some horrible reliability issue with them, and that just instantly gets it down to worst category. But I don't know if anybody ever rode a Mako, a ATK 700 or a Mako 700 long enough to experience any durability or failures on that thing. Like you said, one and done.
Well, I actually rode that thing about 1,000 miles. Um,
Oh,
and over the course of about 5 months of testing, because it had too big a carburetor, and we wound up putting a compression release in it, and then we did all kinds of things, and it would blow the carburetor off, and it wouldn't go very far, and running a 3-speed transmission, and different weights on the flywheel, and different ignition timing, and the the only time that motorcycle, it left me walking a couple times, but most of the time it was something that we were testing that we got wrong. I blew the
Yeah.
carburetor off a couple times, and I found that thing really liked to be run really rich, and I ran out of gas several times. And but but I rode it. I rode it for one day at the Nevada 200, and that was a bad idea. Um, but I took it to Jawbone Canyon and was doing hill climbs, and that was a wonderful idea.
That's a good idea.
So
That's where my Husaberg 650 needs to go next, is the Jawbone.
uh, you know,
I tried to go after the last storm, but we took it trail riding instead, and it produced some issues.
yeah, Jawbone Canyon with those hills after a rain, and you got to you got your talent switch in the on and full upright position and a new tire. Jawbone can be just absolutely magic on a big horsepower bike.
Yep.
But then you get to the top of the hill, you got to ride down that hill, and that sometimes that's not as much fun as going up.
Oh, you bang gears and just go. Just
Yep.
don't worry about the hoop-de-doos at the bottom. It's all good. Hey, Chris. Well, thanks a ton for coming on, being a big supporter of the show. Always dishing out really good knowledge. I know I appreciate it. And I think a lot of the fans of the show like it as well. So where can people reach you if they need some motorcycle certification testing?
Well, I'm over at dpstechnical.com, and and also over at motorcyclenoise.com, and I'm pretty easy to find if somebody needs some regulatory assistance or some specific DOT testing. There's not too many not too many of us out there doing that, but really the manufacturers that we're helping right now, some of them kind of need they kind of need some very basic entry level consulting and some product reviews, and because some of the guys are kind of new, and so DPS Technical is where I'm hanging out. Been hanging out here for I founded this in
I've been doing it for a while.
yeah, 94 is when I founded this organization, and we've evolved, and just like Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, we're evolving to meet the customers' desires. So we're guys that listen to this podcast, make a suggestion. We'll either laugh
Yeah.
about it or we'll evolve. But we do appreciate being a part of the community.
Yeah, appreciate it. So thanks a lot, Chris. And with that, we'll see you out in the trail. I'm going to wrap up by answering a few questions that kind of came in. So let's see. I wanted to thank Ron Wielder, who says, I don't think it's clear what the show is to outsiders. I'm a new viewer and I had no idea, but kept popping up when I would go to YouTube one night. I was curious and I'm watching it ever since. Thanks, Ron. I really appreciate it. Yeah, and he recognized me from my Tour of Idaho video, which man, that has quite a few views up on the internet. So I did the Tour of Idaho a few years back. And James G wants to know, how do you put a compression release in a two-stroke? So on the old days, there was a lot of two-strokes that had two spark plugs because it'd foul one and you could just switch the spark plug over. But you could also take that spark plug out and they would put another fixture inside of there that had a little pull-operated release, and so that's how you would do it. You just pull the lever and it would just let the compression out, and so you can get it past top dead center that way, and then give it a kick or kick it and then release the lever. But on that ATK 700, that was a recipe for a backfire or a mistimed kickstart, and like Chris said, it would probably throw you over the handlebars. So again, it's about time for us to wrap this up. I'd like to thank the sponsors of the show: Yamaha, Taco Moto, Scott Sports, Climb, DDC, Trail Tech, Fasst Company, Seat Concepts, Bulletproof Designs, and Double Take Mirrors. I'm going to get, I always say this every show. I say I'm going to get more organized and do that. But I think we're going to work on some of this stuff, have a theme, have something to start, at least start discussing. Hopefully we won't go off the rails too much. And with that, everybody, thanks for joining in. Tell a friend, leave comments, and we'll see you out in the trail. So cheers, everybody.